Please put your hands together for Peyton Brock, everybody. Peyton Brock's here tonight. Yes! Thank you, Craig. Give it up, everybody, for Craig Anton. The only SCAD professor with an entire portion of the HR department solely put there to deal with his fallout. Thank you for coming, everybody. Welcome to my beautiful home with 3 pieces of furniture. We have our table with no chairs, only standing, a lamp that's the height of the table almost, and then a small couch. The stakes have never been lower. I think 3 people came in right before the show started and the crowd doubled. So I'm a dramatic writing minor, film major, so I like creating things. I've been working on some new projects recently, so I'm going to tell you about them. The first, it's a sitcom about a guy who's walking along the street and this billboard sign falls on his head and he gets amnesia. So the show's about him having to figure out who he is again, and shenanigans happen. Of course, the show is obviously called Seinfeld because the sign fell on his head. Not to be confused with the all-puppet remake of Seinfeld I'm doing called Seinfeld. I'm also working on a play that's just a person getting an enema in real time on stage. Instead of cats, that's called shats. Bring in the poop jokes. Good way to start, Peyton. Greek gods are pretty cool. Greek mythology, that's all fun stuff to study. You got some cool ones. Ares is the god of war and stuff. That's cool. War, killing, awesome. You got Hermes, who's the messenger god. Also, fun fact, the god of animal husbandry, because everybody has their kink, all right? Let's not shame him. And then, of course, my favorite Greek god of all is the Greek god of overeating and gluttony, diabetes. For anyone who knows me somewhat well, or anyone who's seen my stand-up before, I like to make some jokes and be open about mental health stuff I go through. I got a couple things going on in my head that ain't right. Recently I've had a kind of a tough time in the past few weeks. I recently found myself crying in my car in the parking lot of a Mexican restaurant. Now, that's not the weird thing. I normally do that. The weird thing was I was crying before I went in to eat because I was having a panic attack. Normally I cry afterwards because of the terrible, terrible indigestion I'm having. It's just the worst. Because of the depression I have and all that, I'm very paranoid. I'm very paranoid about ever losing a limb. All costs, I will avoid losing a limb. Well, that's what they say. That's the #1 symptom of depression, is losing limbs, being afraid of that. It's a fear that depressed people have acutely. I know all of you guys, you don't have depression, so you guys are just running around with knives and taking all sorts of risks. But yeah, I really don't want to lose a limb because, if you lose a limb, then you probably end up having to get a prosthetic leg or arm or whatnot. And, obviously prosthetics aren't really attached to your body. You have to strap them on and all that and whatnot. And you could lose them. So, if I'm going around here and I have a limb that falls off and I'm depressed all the time, I'm basically just the human version of Eeyore, and I don't want to be that. I think that the UN should convene from now on only at IHOPs, because it's not the American house of pancakes. It's not any one country's house of pancakes. It's the international house of pancakes where we can all be equal and all sit eye to eye. It's the most neutral place to have their meetings, so that's where they should be from now on. Today, in this very parking lot, this building, my car broke down, and I spent a good portion of the day outside waiting for AAA to come and fix it. So the guy eventually shows up, And while he's working and checking on my car, he stops and says, "Hey, do you have a dog?" And at first I'm very confused, and before I can answer, he says, "Because I have this like puppy and he hasn't got his shots yet, and he scratched me and it's hurting really weird and feels weird." And he points at this disgusting, like infected looking scar on his arm. Because apparently if you own a dog, that also means you're qualified in medicine and have a license, apparently. I didn't know what to tell him. I'm just glad that I'm not a parrot owner, because as you know, all parrot owners are just, they're required to also be brain surgeons, because they just figure those people have enough money for a parrot, they gotta be smart enough for brain surgery. Let's see, is that it? Oh yeah, I have one last joke that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna use the power of technology to help me do this joke, because we live in a magical future world with magical future devices at our will. So here we go, final joke. Siri, what's the most important part of telling a joke? I guess that didn't work.
Timing.
Oh, thank you, Siri. Anything else to say?
Go screw yourself, you big freaking idiot loser. Nobody loves you. Your mother does not love you.
Jeez, are you done?
Bitch.
Thank you, everybody.